Data security is part of the field level and data security application from Mertzo.com. It's beyond the standard NAV security features. You can basically have different security for data access by each individual page or form in the system. You can also use variables in the filtering and basically have a user-dependent value. It could be you want to filter on the salesperson code, and each user will have a different salesperson code, or you could even have a filter that was multiple salespeople. I'll go through and create a data security code, and I'll also talk about how you can actually add this to reports or even apply it to JetReport when you're using the web service access to the data and inside NAV. Easy Security is installed in this database as we ran the install for the field level and data security in here. We selected certain tables. So in my database, I'll be able to work with customer, item, sales headers, and sales lines in here. So if I go look at my customers first in here, as I look at the list of customers, I can see there's different location codes, but I can also add my customer posting group, and the field don't have to be on the screen to filter on it. I just want to see that there's foreign, domestic, and EU in here. If my regular users should only see my domestic customers, we can apply a filter like that one in here. So if I will go in first here to field level and data security, I'll create a new data security code in here. And it is for my customer table. And each of these filters apply to one place. So if you want to filter sales headers, posted documents, things like that one, you want to create one of these data security codes for each place in here. But I will have only domestic in here. Each page in the system can actually have a filter in here. And you can also use page 0, and in that way you don't have to specify every page that is showing the customer table in here. I can either click on details or just drill down in the fields over there. So what I want to do is select my customer posting group field. I can have filters that are editable, or I have them hidden also in here. I want to have a hidden filter, one the user actually cannot see in here. And I just want to filter on my domestic value in here. The best way to find these filters is probably to go use them in a list and see that you get the records you actually want in here. So as I have now this page, or all pages in the system because I use 0, I now have a filter for my domestic posting group in here. As I apply this to my user, it's completely independent of the regular NAV security. We have a user security setup, and that's where you will specify the data security in. So you can be super user, or you can have very limited access. It's all going to work together in here. Since it's for all my users, I can leave the user ID blank in here. In that case, it actually applies to all my users. If I have users that needs to be different, I need to add them to my list below in here. But in here, I don't want any field level security, so I'm going to blank out that value. But I want my data security, my new one here, only domestic in here. So as I now applied this one, if I now open up my list of customers, I'll see my list got really short in here. I only have the few customers that are actually for domestic in here, and I can't really remove the filters because I can't even see it actually is applied in here. So it now filters on my domestic one, and it would be the same if I went to a sales order and I would actually create a new one. As I look up for my customer, I can see that list is pretty short, and if I click on advanced, it is of course the same list. Even I don't see the domestic code out here at this point. So the filter applies everywhere in the system without the user seeing it. If I go back to my customer in here, if I create a new customer, and I'll click out of the field, it falls outside the filters. So I have to remember here to either go add my customer posting group being the blank one, or where's my customer posting group here, being the domestic one. If I select one that were not domestic, it would actually fall outside the filter and it would disappear for me. There is a way to avoid this error in here, because what we can do, we can make an exception on the customer card in here. So let's go in and say that I want to go back to the data security code again in here. My only domestic, and I want to add another page in here. So on my customer card, I want to look at the details, and I can copy the details from my only domestic page 0 in here. It just gave me the value in here. So if I want to avoid that one, I really want to also allow the blank one in here. So as I now make a different filter for my customer posting group in only one page, if I now go back, create a new customer, I now don't get the error. I still have to remember to put it in here as domestic, but at least I don't get an error in here. A lot of times people don't really create entries in here. Another feature that could be very useful is actually to lock down a difference between the list and the pages in here. So if I go in here and choose a column, and it will be the salesperson code. I'll move it up here next to my customer posting group. I can see I have domestic customers for PS, JR, and blank ones down here. If I only want to see the one that are actually for JR as I get into the card in here, so I wouldn't be able to open 50,000 and start editing in here because I'm not the associated salesperson in here. So the same way as before, I'll go to my data security code, and in my customer card, I want to add an additional filter in here. So what I want to do is actually have my salesperson code be again a hidden filter for either JR, or I could allow the blank one also in here. So in this case, I'm allowing this salesperson code in here. As I now go back to my list of customers, when I now open up the one with JR, 60,000, it showed me the 60,000, no problem about that one. If I try open one with PS, I get an error that it couldn't retrieve that record, and it shows me the first one, or in this case it actually goes to create a new one that is for within my filter in here, and the other one was actually, it showed me the first one that fell within the filter down here. So in that case, I'm not allowed to edit this customer in the card, but I can see them in the list in here. This one, of course, as I designed this one in here, I now went in and hard-coded a value in here. If you are 20 salespeople, that's going to be quite a lot of hard coding in here. So what I can actually do in here is have something we call user filters. Same way as we can have a blank user ID in my user security setup, we can also have it in here. So I can go in and say for my salesperson code, I want either the JR or the blank one in here as my filter. And then I could go down and say, when I'm actually logged in as a user, I actually want my filter to be JR or the PS or the blank one in here. So allowing multiple values. I could also have a single value if I wanted to in here. So as I now have defined what this user want, I want to go apply this filter in my data security code in here. And it's in my customer card. So when I look at the details, I was normally doing this hidden filter. We can substitute values into the filter in here. And we have a field always, and typically you want to check both of them. It's only if you have something that coding wise would be a really expensive calculation. You don't want to check both of them in here. So I can go in here and now I can do a lookup in my filter value, and it will look up to a list of what we call dynamic filters in here. We can use things related to date and other issues in the code, responsibility centers that are set up on the user setup, and all these one about UF refer to our user filters in here. So I can see my sales purchaser code. For my current user, it's actually this value out here, and I want to use this one in here. I could also use the work year, the work date, user ID, and things like that one in here. But I want to apply this filter in here. So now it puts it in as a variable. Again, it's a hidden filter. I won't be able to see it or get rid of it in here. So as I now have this only domestic, I can use this one for a lot of users. And by linking the individual user to the salesperson code in the user filters, I actually have all the functionality I want in here. So I don't think I have any data in here actually that is not for PS. So I should now be able to open all of them because my salesperson code is within my filter now in here. This one can also be used for controlling records on my list of sales orders. External salespeople can maybe only see the one for their location. They can only edit the one or open up the card on a sales order for the one they are the salesperson on, for example. Same thing can go for the posted documents and things like that one. A place where this one actually can be very useful also is in the chart of account in here. If I need access to chart of account to maybe look at some entries and things like that one to verify it's correct, I can see everything in here. But if I go in and take a look at, for example, my cleaning account in here, I'll see that currently there's 26,000 on the net change in here. And if I show the column department code up here, I'll have to reopen it again. I can see there's postings for administration, production, and sales and so on. If my user should only see the sales one, I can actually create one and apply the filter also to the flow filter in here. In that case, as I go into my data security, create a new one again. I want to have my GL account, so it will be a sales only. Every page in the system for my global dimension code is the value in there, but I want to actually apply it in the filter in here, and it should be a hidden one for either the blank or the sales department in here. As I now apply that to my user, again it's done in the user security setup for every user in the system. No field level security, but my sales only in here. If I go back, look at my general ledger chart of account, I'll see in my cleaning account now, it only says 13,000 in here. And it's not like I can actually get rid of that filter because it actually was put in a hidden way. So I could still add more, but I can't get rid of that filter actually in here because I can't even see it at this time. If I drill down to my entries, I can only see the one for sales or blank in here, again that way. Even if I actually get rid of all my filters here, I still only would see that one. At this time, when I get here from the chart of account, it's all locked down. But if I got here from Navigate, I could of course see all of them because it wouldn't have the filter applied. So let's go back and look at how we can actually get there from Navigate. And if I now show my GL entries in here, I can of course see the administration production. So all I have to do here is go on this table, that is the GL entry. I want to apply the same filter in here. So go back to our data security code, or we will create a new one for the GL entry table, and I'll call it sales only. Same way as before, page 0, every page showing the GL entry. Do a lookup, and before I used the filter, but that was to actually make the calculation right. Now I actually have the global dimension in here. So I go in and have the same filter in here for sales or blank in here. Go apply it in my user security setup for every user in the system. And I called it sales only, but it really have nothing to do with the other one except it's the same name up here. So as I now go back in, look at my general ledger, do navigate, find all the entries, and do the show related. It now only show me the blank or sales for all the accounts in here. So even if I actually see all of it, I only get a partial snapshot of the whole accounting, and none of the cash accounts will be in here because they have no department code on all of them up here. So it's an easy way of securing the whole system. Again, same way as I did before actually in here. Right now, I kind of hard coded this one in here, but I could go into my user filter and say I have a code in here, and it will be my department code out here. By user, I can go in and edit this one and say, yeah, for every user in the system, I want to have either the blank or sales in here. And I can go down and say for my user in here, I actually want blank sales or administration in here. So again, as before, I use the hard-coded filters in here, but I can actually go into my sales only, do this one based on a calculation, delete this value, and select my user filter for global dimension 1 in here. And do the same for my sales only. Instead of my hard-coded filter, I'm going to do it based on my user filter out here. And with this one, if I now go to my navigate, because I'm allowed myself to actually see more records, I will see both the sales administration and the blank one, but I'm still missing the production one in here. The user filters are really handy to keep the amount of data security codes down, because you can link users with one or more different codes in here. If you want to do this one for reports, for example, we have only implemented the codes on the pages by default. As we suggest when you get really tight security, we don't suggest you let people run any report in the system. And you can go modify the reports to actually have code in there that would allow them to do data security in here. So if I actually go here and look at my customer top 10, for example, if I look at this one, it's a report 111 in here. So if I want to apply the same filter in here, I would actually have to open the designer. I need to get to a license that actually have design access in here. Find my report 111 in here. And as I can see, I'm looping through the customer in here. All I would have to do is in my pre-data item, I would add an additional filter in here. And to add the filter, you would need to use a variable of one of our code units. I'll just find it in the list in here. The set filter function. For each table in the system, we can actually go in and set that one. And I will say for the customer record in here, like the page that is number 8 and 0 in here, I will go in and say apply the same filter as you normally have in page 0 in here. So this one is data security. And that's basically all the changes that are needed. So if I now go and run my customer top 10 in here, it only shows me the customer within my filters, and it's hard to tell, but if I didn't have the code in there, I would have seen a lot more records in here. But changing reports is a manual task, but as you saw, it's quite a simple one actually to apply the data security. We have a FAQ that explains how to do this in Jet Report also. It's 7 or 8 changes to a Jet Report code unit, and then the same filter can be applied in Jet Report also in here.